I want to share with you today 5 big mistakes parents make when it comes to talking to their children about sex. The first one is they just say no. No without giving any explanation. Now, take into account your child's maturity and age. It's still appropriate to give them a reason for saying no. We can't just say no for everything without giving a reason. Napoleon Hill says wisely, don't deny them all these evils, just explain it. Now, sex is not evil for sure, but we can explain them, the reasons behind us saying no. We can't just say no. The second mistake parents make, they would avoid the topic. They would just change the subject as they come into confrontation with a billboard or with a TV show or with a movie. They just change a channel and just don't answer or explain to their children what has been seen. Now, the children are curious. When they saw something that was not appropriate, they do have questions. And that's why it's so important for you to not just change the topic when something comes up like that. I like to use that as a teaching opportunity. So we don't need to show them all these things. We can surely pause it or forward it or make sure that they're not exposed to inappropriate material. But it's important to let your child know, listen, what you have just saw, do you have any questions about that? And that's where I move into my third mistake. We do not teach our children the values of their decisions if we just avoid uncomfortable questions. So we need to allow our children to ask us questions, even if you feel uncomfortable. And when they bring it up in an inappropriate time, like when you're driving in a car and there's a car full of children or whenever, you can say, that's a good question. I would love to answer you that question. After we drop off these kids, let's have a conversation. And then be brave enough to bring up that question again. Because remember, if you're not going to answer your 8-year-old or your 10-year-old, there is Google. We tell all our children every time, oh, I don't know, let's Google it. So if you're not going to give your child an answer, he will surely go and Google it. The fourth one that the parents make is saying sex is not a big deal. Now, there's a big difference between saying sex is not a big deal and saying it's natural. Now, I believe sex is natural. It is how God created it, and it's a beautiful creation on His part. But we also need to explain to them it's a beautiful creation, but it needs to be handled with care. All right? So it is a big deal. I work with children that has been exposed to sexuality too early. I've worked with adults struggling with their sexuality. And if we just tell them it's not a big deal, we are actually not empowering our children to make healthy decisions. So we want to communicate that it's natural, these feelings, but we also want to communicate it is a big deal and your decisions will affect you down the line. And then the fifth mistake parent makes is they would preach to their children. Remember, when you preach to your children and go on a tangent of and explaining to them and preaching and having an hour conversation and not listening to your child, they're not actually listening to you. We need to teach our children, but without preaching. So we need to find the fine balance of hearing if your children has heard what you have said. It's an interactive conversation. It's not just you preaching and they listening, because then they won't take it to heart. It's important that you stop and ask questions and say, do you understand what I just said? What do you mean you don't understand? So we need to explain to our children in more detail and listen as we are teaching them, and we don't preach to them. So this is the big 5 mistakes that parents make. If you're interested on how you can approach the topic more positively, please visit my website. I have a digital program, how to talk to your children about sex and how to approach that positively and avoid these mistakes, but more importantly, to empower you to do this conversation with your children in a positive way and to approach it with confidence without any palms sweating and being so uncomfortable. I find that is a powerful tool to empower you to take the talk on with confidence.